Okay, this is my video for the Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao 4 post fight review. Okay, first of all, thank you to all the people on Twitter. I will call your names out with your questions, so shout out to all of you now. Thank you for your questions. As with me, I thought it was a great fight, an interesting fight. But I'll just give you my take on how I saw the fight. I went back and watched the fight a few minutes ago, after all the hype of last night or early this morning, to have a look at the fight again and what I thought. Now, coming into this fight, Freddie Roach and Manny Pacquiao wanted to put the record straight between Juan Manuel Marquez. Now, for them, it was about attack. They thought if they kept attacking Marquez, they'd knock Marquez out. Now, where they got this idea from, I don't know. In the first fight, Manny knocked Marquez down 3 times in the first round. Couldn't finish him off. He knocked him down in the second fight. Couldn't knock him down in the third fight. So coming into this fourth fight, they believed they were going to knock Marquez out, which I thought was ludicrous against a guy who was counter-punching and looked so good in their last fight. But there you go. So Freddie Roach came up with a strategy that was to attack Marquez. Now, bearing in mind, Manny Pacquiao, as we've known for a while now, has had his mind in other things, with the God thing within church, and with him being some sort of Pac-Man movie star, and also was the presidential thing he's doing, being whatever he's doing, the elections in the Philippines, being a governor, whatever he's doing in the Philippines. But he's done everything but be focused in boxing. And on top of that, there's been Freddie Roach with the breakup with Amir Khan, and the Alex Ariza story, and the PEDs, supposedly, whether he was juicing, wasn't he juicing. And on top of all that, the big question, Floyd Mayweather. Now, let's add something else into the mix. 50 Cent. What was going to happen had Manny won this fight? So there's lots of things to go on. And on top of all of this, bear in mind, there were question marks about the relationship between Manny and his wife. There were stories going around that Manny was having relationships outside of his marriage, and that his wife was looking to divorce him. So that as well, put all that into the pot, and there we have Manny Pacquiao preparing for Marquez, and he thinks he won all these fights. Now let's look on the other side of the coin, and you've got Juan Manuel Marquez, who feels that he was given some really bad breaks. He felt that he'd won these fights, and in his mind, he felt he was cheated. So 3 fights he had, 3 fights he felt cheated. So in the 4th fight, he said, I've got to make sure. So there's 4 times he's fought, the 3 times he's fought this guy, he's fought Pacquiao, and 3 times he's been able to counter him, and 3 times Marquez has realised that Manny has been unable to work out how to stop the right hand. So I figure that Marquez was solely focused on Pacquiao, nothing else, and he wanted revenge, and he was fueled with a fire to beat Pacquiao. That's all his focus was, nothing else. Him and his trainer had a tight relationship. Marquez has got a solid family background, family life. There's no sort of media controversy. His relationship with God. The only thing we really know about Marquez, or question marks on Marquez, was really the strength and conditioning coach who was associated with Marion Jones. But I believe if that was a case and that was a matter, that would have been brought up a long time ago, or would have been brought up, beforehand, as we found out about Eric Morales and his supposedly PED situation. But it's too much money to be made, so whether he really was on something or not, we don't know. But my belief is that Marquez was focused for this fight, totally focused on this fight and nothing else. Manny Pacquiao was distracted, and on top of being distracted, technically flawed. And I say this in all due respect to Manny, he never corrected the mistakes in the first 2 fights. So in the 3rd fight, the same things will happen in the first 2 fights. Whereas Marquez had made the adjustments. Every time Manny was coming in, he was stepping off, stop Manny from landing the punches. which were necessary to knock Marquez down. You can't knock a guy down if you're not landing punches. So here we go. We'll get closer to fight now, and I've seen Marquez. He looks massive. But coming to fight, he's lighter. He's lighter than Manny. He's 143 pounds, which means he's lighter and potentially faster. Manny's 147 pounds. Juan Manuel Marquez is 143 pounds. All right, so they rehydrate come fight night, but they're not big men anyway. So come fight night, and the strategy for me, it looked quite clear that Juan Manuel Marquez was working to the body. You look from the start of the fight, Marquez was working towards Manny's body. He was working towards Manny's body and hitting hard body shots in, and he was landing them consistently. Manny was doing the same things as he does, but just actually starting the fight a lot faster and bringing the fight to Marquez. And when you bring the fight to somebody who is a known counter-puncher, in fact, the second best counter-puncher in the world, I put Floyd Mayweather as number 1. I don't put Broner as 2 yet, because Broner's only had 1 or 2 fights and he needs to do it over a period of time. But he'll be up there. But yes, I was saying, you find a counter puncher, so he knows from the start, this guy's going to attack me, this guy's going to attack me, this guy's going to attack me. In fact, that's all this guy can do. He can only attack me. If you see Manny Pacquiao win fights on back foot, no, all his fights are going forward, going forward, going forward. So Juan Manuel Marquez not only knows how this guy fights, he can feel him. You know, I don't even, some of you may have not boxed before, but you could, when you've been in the ring sparring with somebody, or you've practiced with somebody, whether it be football or cricket or box or whatever, you get used to how a person moves. You know, they either move to left or move to right, or they do certain things, and so you can actually get into rhythm of how they move. And I think Marquez was able to time Manny. This talk about Juan Manuel Marquez being a bigger puncher or being on PDs, I don't think that's quite true. If you look at the fight, Manny was bringing the fight to Marquez, and if you look from round 1, he was getting caught with the straight right hand from the beginning of the fight. Now the right hand he got caught with in the 3rd round, Manny was already moving backwards. The body shot brought Manny's hands down. Manny's going backwards, and of course, if he just get pushed, he could fall over. He wasn't on balance, so it was a hard punch. But Manny had nothing to. It was not on solid ground. And what I mean by not solid ground, his base was not solid. His feet were hard to describe it to you, but his 2 feet were right in front of him, rather than being in a solid stance to take a shot. So he was not able to absorb the shot. So when he got caught with the right hand, you're watching the video, 2 feet together, he goes over. He gets up. So yes, it was a knockdown, but he wasn't a significant knockdown to say he was really hurt. Of course, when Marquez got knocked down as well, he was off balance. The first knockdown, he was off balance. Yes, he got caught with a 1-2, and yes, he was hurt, and he was going backwards. Now he was going backwards, but remember, when he went backwards and Manny was coming for him, and after he got dropped, Manny came for him. He got caught automatically again with the right hand. Every time he went back to the corner, Pacquiao, neither Freddie Roach or the other guy that was in his corner mentioned anything about the right hand, and they made no adjustments to the right hand. And if you listen to Roy Jones Jr., Roy Jones says, no, he's not going to get caught with the right hand again. You know, Manny Pacquiao's made the adjustments. No, he hadn't. And as soon as he said that, about 10 seconds into that, Manny comes leaping in again, trying to take Marquez to the ropes. And if you watch carefully, Marquez is okay. He's okay. He's not that badly hurt. He's okay. Manny comes in. He almost leaps in, a la Hatton, where he got Chetlov hooked. He leaps in and gets caught with a short right hand. So it's a very short punch he gets caught with. But Manny's leaping into this, and there's a short right hand that catches him and knocks him out cold. So really, Manny's attack end up causing him to get knocked out. So it's a case of, yes, Marquez timed him perfectly, and I believe he was able to time perfectly because they had the 3 fights previously to that. And Marquez only had to focus on Manny. And for me, I looked at Manny. People said Manny looked great. Manny looked disjointed for me. And I think that goes back to Freddie Roach. Now, I'm not so sure how good he is at top level now as a coach. Sure, he may be able to give a lot of wisdom, but I'm not sure how good he is on the pads. His influence in the corner, I'm not so sure how that is as well. And if I were Manny Pacquiao, personally, I'd be seriously looking at my commitments outside the ring. Okay, so those are my views sorry if I've gone on a bit. Those are my views. So now I'm going to do my little Twitter bit. The first question is going to come from Steve Hazzo. Steve, how are you doing, mate? Thanks for the support. You've asked why people talk about Pac-Man Marquez 5. Well, because there's some Pac-tards out there that believe that Manny slipped or Manny made a mistake and he'll come again. Look, Manny Pacquiao's skills are deteriorating fast. His skill level's deteriorating faster because he's got distraction outside the ring. I think people want to see the fight again because I think Manny can do better. But I think his performance was worse in this fight, and it's progressively getting worse. But you know, people want to see the fight again and see him fight again. But if he gets knocked out again, no, in fact, he would get knocked out again because Manny's not going to get any better. Same Manny Pacquiao. Did you see any changes in the fight in terms of his technique, apart from him coming forward and trying to take Marquez's head off? So, you know, I think that's just a Pac-tard thing, to be quite honest. And maybe Marquez fans that want to see Manny get knocked out again. But if they want to see Manny knocked out again, just play the video again. That's all they need to do. Okay, next question. Leah Taylor. Hi, Leah, or Leah. I don't know. I'll make sure I pronounce your name right. What's left for Manny Pacquiao and Marquez? Well, for Manny Pacquiao, personally, I would look to retire. His performances, as I said, are not getting any better. He might not want to go out on a knockout loss like that, but who else is there for him to go and fight? Does he really want to go and fight the best counter puncher in the world, which is Floyd Mayweather? Really? After getting counter punched with a straight right hand all night long by Juan Manuel Marquez, and one of Floyd Mayweather's best punches is a straight right hand? And Manny won't land those punches on Floyd the way that Marquez because Floyd fights a different style. He's got the shoulder roll. I don't know. For Marquez, I think the Timothy Bradley fight should be made. That would be an interesting fight. Yeah, Timothy Bradley fight would be a good fight. I think that would be a very good fight to see at welterweight. And who knows? At welterweight, you've got Kell Brook, who may fight David Alexander. He might fight. Who knows what could happen with that fight? Is Marquez going to want to stick around and try to become the undisputed welterweight champion? Who knows? How many good fights are left in Marquez? Let's bear in mind, Marquez knows Manny Pacquiao. So, for me, he knows Manny Pacquiao. So he probably looks better against Manny Pacquiao than he may look against Tim Bradley, because that's a totally different fighter. It's not somebody he knows he's fought before 3 times. Or 4 times, if they're going to try and take a 5th fight. So, I don't know. I think both guys, I think, for me, if I were Marquez, I would retire now. You've done it. You've knocked out Manny Pacquiao. That's it. Retire. Leave it. Be a sports analyst. Continue being a boxing analyst. For me, Manny Pacquiao, I would retire, personally. There's no need for you to come back in the ring. You've got nothing to prove. You've done well. Pierre Junaid. How are we doing, Pierre? You alright? He's asked, has Pac-Man's punch resistance gone, or did Marquez time Pacquiao? I would say Marquez time Pacquiao. Punch resistance, well, you know, he walked onto a hell of a shot. And the shot before he got knocked down, he was off balance. So bear that in mind, I think. And of course, Pacquiao's fighting a guy who's fought him 3 or 4 times, three, and this is the 4th time he knows him. So I think that may not happen against other fighters. Bear in mind as well, Marquez is a decent puncher. People that know Marquez so much for his punch power, they look at him more for his counter punching ability. So I think it's a case of Marquez being timed. Who else have we got here? Let me ask the question. Maravilla Tom. How does this affect the pound for pound rating? Well, it doesn't really for me. Floyd Mayweather is still #1, the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Hasn't been beaten. Would you put Manuel Marquez as #2 in the world because he's just knocked out Manny Pacquiao? Don't know. Not sure. Let's see what Manuel Marquez does after this. So Manuel Marquez is in the pound for pound top 10 anyway. So don't know. I think fast rise in the pound for pound ratings. You've got Andre Ward, you've got Adrian Broner, who after a few more fights will be moving up the rankings. You've got Lucas Matisse, who will be moving up the rankings as well. So it doesn't change anything for me because Floyd's number one. He's the pound for pound number one for me. But Floyd needs to fight more often, I think. But if Floyd's learned anything from tonight, a couple more fights and be out of the ring, I think. Let's see what else. I think that's it, really. I hope I haven't gone on too much. Thanks for the support. This is Ingram Jones. I'm out.